Hey everybody, I'm SARA WISEMAN. Today we're talking about the idea, why does your uniqueness matter? Learn why human evolution requires each of us to show up differently from each other and to show up differently than we have in the past. It's interesting about this idea that we're evolving and how fast we are evolving within a particular lifetime. It may be argued that in other past lives that we've had, either our lifespan was shorter, which is likely, or we were living in periods of time where there wasn't a lot of opportunity for information to be exchanged. There wasn't a lot of literacy. There just wasn't a lot of free awareness. And so our ability to, or maybe there wasn't a lot of travel. It was just sort of like you were stuck where you were, and that's what you knew, and that's all that was going to happen in that lifetime. And so you did the best you could in a kind of narrow situation. And so here we are in the modern world, and that's really not the case anymore. Pretty much anybody with any kind of internet access is going to have access to the world, to the globe, to pretty much anything. I remember when I think it was Google Earth first came out, or it might have been called something different at that point, but I remember you could go on and look around places far across the world, and you could look directly at those. And one of the places that I visited that way early on was I visited a yurt in Mongolia. So somebody's actual yurt where they were living on the steppes with the big sky and that kind of vastness, and the small things that were in the yurt, their kitchen things, their blankets, the way that they were living. And you were able to go inside there and look around in 3D as if you were right there in the yurt also. And so, of course, you can also do this in astral projection. It's not very hard, but this sort of confirmation that what we can see is so not limited to where we are now. We can go, for those of you who know how to do astral projection, we can go and travel in our minds to different parts of the world and see how things are in this time frame or in different time frames. This is possible to do, and a lot of you guys do that as your practice. We can also use technology as a way of going and looking. And so this idea that we're in a time where we can discover other ways of looking at things, other influences that are different than what we've been brought up with or what we've been thinking. And this allows us to expand ourselves and to see differences and to have new ideas and to expand, which leads to evolution. Now, one of the problems, of course, with technology is that at this point, everything that comes in our feed is everything we've shown interest in or we're likely to be interested in. So you have to decide to not accept just what you're being spoon-fed by the algorithms that are. You have to decide you're going to seek different ideas, different people, different experiences, different places, different ways of looking at the world. You have to decide in your life that you're going to be really curious, and you're going to be curious outside what you've been spoon-fed. I was at another place today, not a bookstore, but a store with a lot of books for sale, and on one table there was a huge amount of books on witchcraft and sort of paganism, and great, that's great. But as I was looking at them, they all had very different covers. They were all beautifully prepared. And as I was looking at them, looking at the contents, it's like, it's all the same. There's nothing new. The real information that comes from working in any system, witchcraft, paganism, animism, the real information is not going to be in this mainstream commercial output, even though it looks beautiful, it's beautifully packaged, it's beautifully promoted, and so forth. So this idea of, in order to evolve, we have to take advantage of the ways that we can experience things that aren't right in our immediate environment. And this includes being incredibly discerning at what's coming into you from all the algorithms and cookies and all the ways that data is following us, and we are being invited to have the sort of one view in our particular interest area. So be aware. We can open up, make sure you're opening up to new ideas. The other thing is about our uniqueness. And I had a chance to come across some photos of myself from maybe like 20 years ago. And I was just kind of struck by how I appeared so unrecognizable to myself. I mean, obviously, tons younger. That was awesome. But also just like this curiosity, like, who was this person then that had no knowledge of any, didn't know about channeling, didn't know about spirit guides, did not have a spirituality outside of religion, was really sort of in a particular niche in terms of my cultural upbringing. And who was this person who was going to turn into me, or who were you about to turn into you later? And what is the unique part of you that was already there germinating in the seed? As you can tell, it's just started hailing here in Portland, Oregon in the spring, but whatever. So again, unique. The environment is also unique right now. Anyway, this idea of who were you and how were you dropped into this universe with everything within you waiting to be sprouted, waiting to be brought to the surface, and what things were allowed to sprout, or what things did your society, your culture, what things did those allow to blossom? And then later, what things did you allow to blossom as your own invitation to your own unique soul? Like, we're each a soul, we're part of the bigger soul. So we're part of the collective, we also have this unique offering that is ours alone. Some people talk about we're the drop in the water in the ocean, or we're the snowflake in the snowstorm. Again, perfectly unique, yet part of the whole. And of course, each unique part adding to the whole in a way that no other unique part can add. So in terms of thinking about yourself, and it may be useful to look at some pictures of yourself when you were sort of at that age of, beginning to become an actual adult in your own mind, beginning to live independently and sort of think independently, and just think, who was I then? How did I see myself as unique being? And how has that unique being, whether they've been able to blossom fully or whether they've been downtrodden by life or people or whatever it is, what parts of me have been carried through? So this is different than looking at the 8 or 12-year-old self. Like, what were you good at? What did you enjoy doing? I think I've joked a bit. My 12-year-old self really loved macrame, right? I love to macrame stuff. So obviously that is not a unique talent I'm taking forward as, the macrame business, right? It's like that was just a thing. It wasn't really, so far as I know, macrame is not what I'm here for. Somebody else may be here for that, but not me. So looking at this older self and looking at how you were stepping out into the world, what you loved, what really intrigued you, and what you were thinking about day and night, what you were trying to do, and just kind of seeing if there's something there for you in your unique self now to sort of remember or recall or have as some kind of guiding light. And again, it's not necessarily around your gifts and talents, maybe around your interests or your passions, maybe something that you're not even sure if you're very good at, and yet you were deeply interested in that at that time of your opening into adulthood. Your unique self is what you're here to contribute. Because why? Because nobody else can do this job, right? Nobody else can have the offering that you can bring. It's impossible. So just kind of thinking about this and how each of us is here to contribute to the whole. What are we supposed to contribute? We're supposed to contribute our unique understanding and participation, and seeing what that means for you. I'm SARA Wiseman, and you will find me at sarawiseman.com.